Welcome, Agile friends. My name is Vasco Duarte, and I'm here with our amazing speaker, Colleen Johnson. Hey, Colleen, welcome to our Product Owner Summit.
Thanks for having me here, Vasco. I'm excited to be a part of this again this year and excited about the topics we're going to cover.
Absolutely. I'm also excited. The product owner is, in the end, a very difficult role to fulfill. And anything we can do to help that role, to help people in that role succeed is going to be a great contribution. And of course, we bring Colleen's experience to talk about roadmaps and product planning. Colleen is an enterprise agile coach, a keynote speaker, author, and also the CEO of prokanban.org. Now, we'll talk about roadmaps in a second. I do want to remind everybody that we have a lot more product-focused sessions on the Product Owner Summit. You can, for example, watch Jacopo Romei talking about how to bring experimentation to large organizations. So check that out at, of course, productownersummit.org. But now it's time to focus on our guest and on the topic for this session, proper Agile product planning. Let's see what Colleen can bring us with a topic that got a lot of interest in our Agile Online Summit 2022. So at that time, Colleen, you introduced the idea that roadmaps might actually hinder the quality and effectiveness of product planning. Tell us a bit more about that idea. Why can roadmaps be actually counterproductive for us?
Yeah. Well, I think last year our title for that talk was "Death of the Product Roadmap," and it's obviously intended to get your attention with that title. But when we start thinking about what's not working about roadmaps, I don't think the list is pretty long and probably not surprising for most of us. And I think you can really distill it down to three core problems. They are speculative, deterministic, and prescriptive. And if we dig into each of those things and really think about why all three of those are really not agile, right? They're the opposite of being agile. And so when we think about each of those, if we start with speculative, that's really what's on the product roadmap. So we plan our roadmaps out by assuming we know exactly what our customers want. We don't have a lot of room in that roadmap to respond to change or to respond to data or market shifts. And it's really our best guess at any given point in time when we create that roadmap, not just what we're going to deliver, but also when we're going to deliver it, right? It's very rigid, and that's where the deterministic piece comes in. It's deterministic in the sense that we plan out what we're going to deliver based on exact stop and start dates. And we often even have to go back and replan, or we start replanning things even though we're not delivering those things on time. So
in fact, that aspect that you said, the start and stop, very much reminds me of a project plan, kind of at a different level of management, right? Like one level up, but it still looks like a Gantt chart even.
It 100% looks like a Gantt chart, right? And it's often wrong. It's out of date, and we start replanning the next thing, even though we haven't hit the dates from the first items we plan to deliver. The other thing that's really busted when we talk about the deterministic piece of when we're going to deliver is that the ability to try to do those estimates requires so much upfront planning that's often inaccurate. It's super time consuming, and it's flat out wrong, which takes us to the prescriptive piece of this. So in order to get the what figured out, in order to get the when figured out, we end up pulling teams into these conversations very early about how we're going to deliver that value, right? And so that often looks like writing upfront user stories, pointing all those user stories, estimating feature size far in advance of when we're going to pull that work in. And it starts to lock us into how we plan to deliver that value without any room for customer feedback, which was the whole point, right? That's the whole point of why we're doing Agile.
And sometimes it can even get worse because many companies are even smart about this step, and they don't involve the teams on purpose, which then begs the question, so who's estimating somebody else's work, right?
Right. Yeah. And you see that a lot, I think, at the feature level. We try to do kind of relative feature level sizing and try to remove the team from that conversation. And then by the time the team goes to pull the work, we've already determined how much time they have to deliver that without even asking for their involvement in that conversation. It's a good point. So I think those three things are really, if I have to boil it all down to what's not working about